know what is what.
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
This is Cult of the Living Dead.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Cult of the Living Dead. This week, we are covering the 1979 Monty Python's Life of Brian. As always, I'm your host, The Dale, followed by my two co-hosts, Mr. Saya.
Yup.
And Twan.
What up?
I think we have to call you Biggest Dickus from now on.
That was a great... Dude, this movie was genuinely, pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We'll get into it. I try not to compare it to Holy Grail, but I think this movie was funnier.
Interesting.
Ooh, we have an opposite take?
Possibly.
I hate all things religion, so it kind of tickled
think
my fancy a little bit.
I thought this movie was gonna go in a completely different direction, and then it didn't go in the direction that I thought it was gonna go. So I don't know. that played a part in
And so
the movie overall.
What was the other movie that we watched? And you were like, we were watching this movie, and I was expecting something to happen the whole movie.
As Jennifer's Body. I thought it was vampires the whole time.
That's right. That's right. That would have made a better movie.
Where
Yeah.
are the fucking vampires?
Where the fucking vampires at? Well, quick reminder for first-time listeners and returning guests. We are a cult movie podcast. We cover cult classics, B movies, and horror. None of us are academically trained in film critique, but we love movies, so enjoy the ride. All right. So I'm going to just ask right off the bat. So I said I liked it better than Holy Grail. Twan, you alluded that you like Holy Grail more than this film.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, Holy Grail had a lot more moments that I audibly laughed. Yeah, this one was a little dry at times.
What about you, Sam?
I don't know. I feel like I like them
Equally?
Yeah.
Can't choose between your favorite children.
Yeah.
That's fair. Little trivia. I guess the creators, the Monty Python trio, believe this is their best movie. They felt like this is them at the height of their comedic prowess, which I think is pretty interesting. I feel like you don't hear a lot of stuff like that from comedians being like, "Oh, this is when I was at the top of my game." So I thought that was kind of cool.
I think I don't even know if we're getting into the history that we've had with this, but I didn't even watch this movie until I was like an adult. I saw the Holy Grail when I was younger. So, and then I watched it again when I was an adult. So I don't really have like good points of reference for the both of them.
I mean, this is my first time watching this movie, but we'll get into that in a sec. Let me just run through the cast and crew. So this will be quicker than usual. So all the names and cast are basically people who worked on all the Monty Python stuff. So we got Terry Jones as director. The writers were basically the entire troupe, which is like Gary Chapman, John Cleese, Terry Gilliam, Eric Idle, Terry Jones, and Michael Palin. They also all starred in a variety of different roles. Brian, the main character, was played by Graham Chapman. He also plays Biggest Dickus, as Matt referenced earlier. I don't know if I'm going to cut that yet, so we'll see if the reference stays. He's pretty hilarious. I think the most famous, at least for me, out of the trio is John Cleese. I feel like I've seen him the most things out of the whole group. And the music was done by Jeffrey Bergen, who also did the Fourth Saga, Longitude. He still makes music, I think, as recently as like 2018. So he's still kind of relevant today. I think it was crazy. I looked at the IMDb to be like, all right, who's the cast? And they all play like 8 people. They're just like everyone in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty funny, man. I don't know. Maybe that's one thing I guess we'll get into like our history with it. I mean, I tried my best not to compare this movie to Holy Grail, but that's my only other point of reference for Monty Python. And I don't remember, maybe because they're knights and stuff, so they're wearing more like headgear and shit.
Mhm.
I didn't realize like how often they just kept playing like different characters throughout these films. And I thought it was pretty funny because like each character had kind of like their own delivery and their own kind of like personality.
Right.
So I thought it was cool. Like it kind of showed their range as like comedians and like actors and stuff. I thought they did like a pretty good job. Kind of reminded me of like a movie version of like Whose Line Is It Anyways, but with like a plot.
Yeah, I can see that.
What was your guys' like history to this movie or like first impressions? Because I know we've all seen Holy Grail, but have never seen this movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Graham Chapman plays Dickus Bickus and his like accent is just completely like lisp heavy, that shit was so funny because I prior to that he was like Brian, and then prior to that he's with like one of the wise men, and so yeah, that was just fucking hilarious. Also, quick fact: Kenneth Cawley, the guy who plays Jesus later on, he's actually from Star Wars, the OG Star Wars 4, 5, and 6. He's one of the admirals on Darth Vader's ship. He's like the main admiral on Darth Vader's ship.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Shit.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to see because you brought up the list. Who is it that plays Pontius Pilate? Because he also has like a crazy list like biggest dickus.
Michael Palin.
Michael Palin.
Yeah. He's the big nose also.
Yeah, the big nose.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's the big nose.
Yeah, and the ex-leper.
Oh, the ex-leper?
Yeah.
Money for an ex-leper, sir? That whole skit had me dying, dude.
I know.
I was like, this fucking guy, fucking all complaining that Jesus cured him.
Yeah.
Took away my livelihood, sir. Oh, it was so funny, dude. I was like, why is this dude so oily? Oh, man. What did you guys expect going into this film?
Damn. Something different. I thought this movie was gonna be like biblical stories broken up with like these funny skits. So like I thought we were gonna get like Moses and the Ten Commandments and like the parting of the Red Sea and like maybe Jonah and the whale. I don't know, just like these different scenes in like these different biblical scenes, but Monty Python. I didn't think it was gonna follow like this linear story. But then again, I guess I'm not too familiar with Monty Python. Because I think Holy Grail is the only movie that I've seen prior to this.
Yeah, and I think that one just kind of spoofs like the Arthurian legend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because the original concept of this movie was supposed to be that Brian was like the 13th apostle, and then he just wasn't there for like any of like the big events that Jesus did. So like he's not at the Last Supper and like all this like random shit.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then they came up with the like during that they're like, oh, what if we just make him be mistaken to be like a Messiah during the time period of Jesus? Yeah, because we only get two like, I mean, we get a couple like historical references, but yeah, it's not like heavy like it's not like Forrest Gump style where he's like just finds himself in all these like random historical events.
Yeah.
What did you expect, Sarah, coming in?
I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. I know the Holy Grail, and I know it just like kind of played on the King Arthur stories. I had assumed that this was just based off of like the picture that it was going to play off of like the story of Jesus.
Mhm.
But I didn't really know too much beyond that. So it was a ride for sure. Quick ride though. Quick ride.
Yeah, it was short. It's
Yeah.
like an hour 30.
Mm-hmm.
Like but he's only like a Messiah for like the last like
Like
20 minutes of
20,
the
30
film.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other
The
than that,
beginning's
he's
all
like
set up.
the build in this movie. I mean, like, well, we'll get into it, but it definitely goes like I was not expecting this, like the main story to be like his part of like this terrorist group. I didn't see that coming.
You know.
And all like the terrorist groups beef with the other terrorist groups. Like, it was pretty funny. All right, let's start working our way through the movie. I guess it starts off with our first actual like historical Bible event with him being born in like Nazareth, but he's like in the barn next to where Jesus was born, and then like the three wise men show up. I thought that shit was pretty funny because I found myself like when I first heard that story as a kid, being like, "What the fuck is myrrh? Like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like this random shit that they're like? I know what gold is. Frankincense, I assumed was like perfume or something. I was like, "What the fuck is myrrh?" And I like that his mom is like, "Yeah, maybe next time, like, don't bring the myrrh."
I also like that she's like, "How are you three wise men, but you show up at 3 a.m?"
Yeah, that was really funny.
Kind of wise men arrive at 3 a.m.
And she's all like, "What? No, get out of here! Like, don't see him." He's like, "Well, we brought gold. All right, all right. I guess you can stay. I guess you can stay." I don't know that this whole opening scene. I was like, "Okay, it's gonna be like this type of movie."
Yeah.
And then when we finally do see like Jesus and what Joseph and Mary, they got like the like halos around their head. I
Mhm.
like how they when they take the fucking shit back, they just like shove the mom to the ground. They're all fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's pretty much. Oh no, then we see Jesus in the next scene, right?
I think after that intro is when we get the title card with
Oh, the title card was
song.
cool.
Yeah.
The life of Brian, who becomes the boy Brian, who becomes the teenager Brian, who becomes the adult Brian, just the
It's
grown
like
up Brian.
it's all animated and shit.
Yeah.
That
It's a
was
cool
pretty.
animation style.
Was that
Yeah,
how,
it was pretty cool.
was that how the Holy Grail was? I don't remember.
I don't, but I did read that. Was it Terry Gilliam? Because he and Terry Jones, I think,
Mm.
or was it Graham Chapman? Yeah, I think it's Terry Gilliam. They co-directed Holy Grail,
Mm.
and I think this time, like they had different ideas of what they wanted to do with Holy Grail. So this time, Terry Jones just did the full directing, but I think Terry Gilliam came up with the idea for the like animated title screen.
Nice.
So that was like his big contribution outside of like acting and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that animation style, I feel like is synonymous with Monty Python. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the font too with the big ass fucking stones. And the way that they took like Life of Brian and they moved all the names around to introduce all the actors.
Yeah.
And they just kill that angel at the end when she crashes into the sun. It's like classic comedy, dude. It's interesting too, because we covered a British comedy last week with Shaun of the Dead, and I feel like the styles of humor are so different between the two films. Like this is more slapsticky, where I felt Shaun of the Dead was more like sitcom more like situational comedy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting like comparison between the two films. But usually I don't like slapstick, and I think the way they do it in this movie is pretty funny. Like in the next scene when they're like in Judea and they're like hearing Jesus' sermon and like them like beefing it over like him being a big nose, that one guy being big nose, and them like not hearing what Jesus is saying.
Yeah.
I thought that shit was pretty funny.
That's hilarious because I catch myself doing that sometimes in crowds when I can't hear shit. I'll just start like talking and then other people will start talking to me and then just start like a whole fucking conversation trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, same thing. It's like telephone. Like when the lady's like, there's one line that stuck out to me when he says like, "Oh, you say blessed are the meek," and she's like, "Oh, that's good. The meek have such a hard time of it." And then you hear another guy's like, "I don't know. I think the meek are really who the problem are in society." And I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, that back and forth banter is always a good time. It reminded me of that movie, that rock movie, Spinal Tap.
Yeah, it did have kind of a well. They're not that separated from each other, right? Spinal Tap came out in what, like 84, and this came out in 79. I know 79 isn't new, but this movie is a lot newer than I thought it was.
Yeah, 84.
84? Yeah, so like five. But then Spinal Tap is not even a British comedy. They're just pretending to be British.
Mhm.
True.
Yeah, they got me all fucked up right now. Yeah, just the bits, dude. The like gags here I thought were like hilarious. The big nose, the dude ultimately like punching the wrong person. And I like how these characters like reoccur at the end of the film.
Mhm.
And they're still like beefing it over the same shit.
Yeah.
The whole like stoning ordeal kind of reminded me of some of the comedy you see in like Mel Brooks movies.
Mhm.
Yeah. True.
They take on the all the women like have those fake ass beards because women aren't allowed at stonings.
And he's like, "Are there any women here?" And everyone's like, No.
What was the guy being stoned for?
For saying
Judeans?
Jehovah.
Jehovah.
Yeah.
That's
And he kept saying it. He's like, "What are you gonna do? Stone me?"
right.
Jehovah, Jehovah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that shit was hilarious. And then they just take out the magistrate dude with that big ass rock.
Mm-hmm. They just crush him.
I don't even think that guy who was originally supposed to get stoned even died. I think he just got away. I think it was pretty funny too because the mom of Brian, when they're at the like Jesus on the hill, she's like, "This is boring. Let's just go to the stoning. Like, let's get out of here. Let's go do something else." This is a great transition.
It's funny too because Jesus is actually there, like doing Jesus shit.
Yeah.
And so, and then isn't that where he also that's where Brian also runs into the People's Front, the organization that he joins. That's where he first runs into them.
No, he runs into them afterwards. He runs into them at the Coliseum.
Yeah, but he sees them talking as they walk by, and he notices that chick.
Oh, that's
yeah.
right, Judith. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Oh man, Judith does him dirty at that.
I know.
Brian. This is
Coliseum.
Coliseum. But what something happens before that? Oh yeah, he meets the ex-leper.
He does. He
Yeah.
meets.
That fucking sweaty ass boy just fucking money for an ex-leper. Oh my god, that shit. I don't know. That scene had me fucking busting up, dude.
I like that.
He's like
he was
trying to
also,
sell
like,
it to him to get a donation.
and he was like skipping along too, just having a grand old time.
Oh man, he's an ex-leper, so
Ex-leper, dude.
he's got to be happy.
He's
He has a second lease on life.
But he was happy, but not happy because he's like, this dude gonna came and he like cleared my leprosy and like now I'm out of a job and like
I didn't even ask for it.
yeah, he didn't even ask for it.
He just did it.
That shit was. I was like, this fucking guy. That's hilarious. Like, what a funny ass take on like religion. Being like, yeah, Jesus out here fucking giving me sight. Who the fuck said I wanted to see? What the fuck? Like nobody asked him to cure me of my leprosy. I was doing fine just on my own. This is where we get an important bit of information about Brian that that he's half Roman because his mom was like taken advantage of by a Roman centurion. I didn't write his name.
Biggest.
It wasn't Digus
No,
Bickus, but it was like Maximus something or so. It meant like it was a double entendre like Digus Bickus.
Mm-hmm.
Maximus
all-
Maximus.
He's all proud to be a Jew. He's like, no, I'm a Jew. Why was he mad? Oh, because there's that centurion there.
Knightus Maximus.
Knightus Maximus. That's right.
Nautius Maximus.
Nautius Maximus. That's right. Because his mom's a whore. I didn't see that coming.
Who? Brian's mom?
Yeah, she's after that whole rant, and he's like, I'm proud to be Jewish. And like he storms into his room, she like goes, oh, all right. And she goes to the centurion and like gets down on her knees.
Yeah. It happens like super fast, and then
Yeah, it's like super quick. Then we run into the Coliseum, and he joins the what are they? The People's Front of Judea.
Mm-hmm.
Not to
But
be
he mistakes them for the Judea People's Front.
yeah, they fucking hate the Judea's People's Front. Oh my god, that whole bit had me dying.
You know.
That's hilarious.
I
And
also
go for
like
it.
that who is it? One of them wants to become a woman.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
that's right.
Fuck, I forget their name.
Stan wants to have babies, so he wants to be called Loretta from now on.
Yeah.
And so for the rest of the movie, they call him
Call him Loretta.
like they're just like, okay, cool, you're now Loretta. But that whole conversation of like, well, I'm a man, so I should be able to want to have children. And then they're like, but you're a man, you can't have children. He's like, don't oppress me.
And then one of them's like, I support your right to want to have a baby. And Reg is like, what's the point of supporting him to want to have a baby if he can't have a baby? And then he's like, all right, fine, fuck it. I support your right to have a baby. Like, whatever, dude.
Yeah, that's
He's like,
hilarious.
thank you guys.
It's
That
funny,
shit was funny.
because that's like a conversation that like is still happening, but it's like this is like the comedy version of it, you know?
Dude,
Yeah.
it kind of threw me off. I was like, damn, there's like a trans, like a whole trans sub, like not even a subplot, just like a side plot happening, like in this random movie from '79.
Yeah.
And like how their whole point you see is like the one guy's like, I don't understand, like you can't do you're not a woman, you can't do womanly things. And the other dude's like, who cares? We'll just support your right to want that right to do that. And they're like, all right, sure, fine, whatever.
Mhm. They all just like come together and they're like, all right, cool, we're good with this.
I love the consistency and the like callbacks in this movie. Like little things will happen and then they'll be like referenced later on in the film. And I think it's pretty smart the way they do it and how they kind of keep the consistency with all the like weird, wacky shit that they do.
Like Big Nose.
Yeah, like Big Nose comes back, Biggest Dickest comes back, the people from the beginning come back.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole recurring Loretta joke.
They're really consistent with all their humor, which is really funny because a lot of it happens so fast, or even if it's not fast, it's like it makes you think it's going to be like a scene and then that's it. But then later on, you hear references of Big Nose again, and it's like it's just a whole thing.
I think that's one thing I liked about this movie versus like Monty Python. Like I feel like Monty Python has the more like iconic scenes, like the Black Knight and like the French guys, like your mother was a hamster and like I fart in your general direction and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like those are like hilarious, but like this whole movie's like the conversations and like the jokes just being fired at such like rapid succession. Sometimes it's like I could see on like a second viewing being like, oh, I missed that joke. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, that joke was a little deeper than I thought it was like originally. Because I was like catching shit, like, oh, that was funny. I'd be like writing a note down and they'd say something and I'd like chuckle, like, oh, that was pretty good. It's like just back to back because the whole movie doesn't have a lot of action. It's just them constantly talking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Actually,
I thought that was pretty good.
I don't remember the Holy Grail too much. So do they not do that in the Holy Grail? Is it just like
Well, because they're going on a quest, so it's like an adventure movie.
okay.
So like I feel like there's more like action sequences.
It's almost like segmented pieces, whereas this is just one whole story. Kind of like
That's what I feel. I feel like Holy Grail's like, yeah, it's more segment. It's like it's one whole story, but it's more like scene. Where this one, it all takes place in like one area, like in one city. So it's like you kind of see like a lot of the same shit over and over again.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty funny. And I love how the guy beats the gladiator. Like this scene, like he's meeting these people, and then there's a gladiator battle, and he'll like casually switch to it, or you'll just see it in the background, and the dude's just like running in a circle until the gladiator just like has a heart attack and he wins. It's like, what the fuck?
I wonder how many times in real life that actually happened. Just like,
I mean, that dude was fast as fuck.
Yeah.
He was fast.
He had the mad zoomies.
Just the gladiator's heart just giving up on him.
He was giving out. He was out of shape.
Yeah.
He was all broad. He had no cardio. Never hit the treadmill. Or like, I love the tagging scene.
Oh,
when they make him tag the whole like fucking
correctly.
I guess John Cleese was an actual like Latin teacher and before he became like a comedian. So like everything he tells him was like grammatically like correct and everything.
Nice.
I was like, that's funny.
And then I like that he has like guards watching over him while he's doing all the tagging on the wall. And then once the tagging's done, he's like, all right, I'm done. And then they walk away, and then a whole new guard comes over looking at it, and he's like, what the? And then they start chasing him.
It's such a hilarious punishment. They're like, do it 100 times or we'll kill you.
Even though he's tagging is like against their like religion.
Oh, I mean, he got immediately in trouble, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
I was not expecting it to be like a couple of them were just massive letters. It's like this fucking dude. Oh man. And it's also cool too, because like it's supposed to be. Are they in Rome? No. No, they're not in Rome. Because Dickus Bickus comes from Rome.
Yeah.
But it is cool because like in like Roman cities, graffiti was like a huge thing. So I thought that was pretty interesting that they threw that in there.
Interesting.
Yeah, they love tagging. So if you go to the Colosseum, you'll see like where people like chiseled in shit or like draw penis.
No
It'll
way.
say like so and so was here in like Latin.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. That's pretty cool.
It's like a random shit, dude. It's all carved into stone too, so you know
Yeah.
it's gonna stay there.
Nice.
And then I was not expecting this movie to just turn into a heist movie out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not a heist movie. It was it was a heist movie. They're gonna like kidnap movie. They're gonna kidnap Pontius Pilate's wife.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the fuck? I just wrote down, when the fuck does this movie become Ocean's 11?
Wait, is this
So many layers.
Is this the scene where he? Oh no, he runs away with the spaceship. That's later, right? That's later. That's
God damn.
Is that
The
after?
spaceship was random too. The
spaceship.
spaceship happens after, because he gets away successfully from these dudes,
Yeah.
and then we're planning the heist, and they're like, all right, we're gonna kidnap her. We're gonna make our demands, and if she doesn't meet it, then we're gonna chop her up into little bits. And they're like, yeah, and they just like have this whole fucking plan. And then they go into the sewers and they start beefing it with that other group, and they all just murder each other. It's just so random. I like how the guards are just like watching them, just like fight. They're just standing there the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I do like when they're coming up with the plan right before when Reg gives the speech to everybody. He's like, what do the Romans ever do to us? And everyone's like thinking, they're like, sanitation,
The aqueduct.
aqueducts, wine, education.
He's like, laws. He's like, yeah, it was pretty crazy out here before the Romans showed up. That's another callback though, because then when it goes back and he has like his letter that he writes to like read to Brian when he's on the cross, he names all those things.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that's fucking funny, man. It's fucking good stuff. And I like how when they sneak into the sewers and they ask them, they're like, where are you guys going? They're like, oh, we're sewage workers going to a conference. Like, what, in the sewers?
You have conferences at your place of business?
You know what? I'm not a fucking groundsman. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they hold meetings. And this is where Brian gets like arrested.
Fucking Brian, bro.
And after this is where the fucking whole alien spaceship. But this is the whole biggest dickest bit.
No way. Yeah, this part was so random. Like, how did this happen?
So I guess what happens, what I read is that the crew knew, like, the actor was like, "We're gonna do biggest dickest," and they told all the extras, "Stay straight faced, no matter what they say. Stay straight faced." So they didn't know what the fuck he was gonna do. So the whole biggest dickest thing, like them laughing, was all fucking genuine.
Yeah, it seemed genuine. Because if you could take a look at all the guards around, like you could see them breaking character. I mean, even biggest Dickus himself broke character. It seemed like he almost broke character once or twice.
Yeah, like the big centurion, because he knew about it, so he was pretty straight faced. And even after like the fifth dude, he's just like, he's like, what are you laughing at? My renowned friend, biggest Dickus, biggest Dickus. Oh my god. Well, at first I was like, okay, this isn't that funny, but then after a while, I was like, this is pretty funny.
It was the fact that he just kept on saying it over and over. It was just hilarious.
Or the way he had enunciated it and like his delivery of it, like changed like subtly.
Yeah.
Or how he had he kept his R's or W's, right? He would, instead of saying rebels, he was like webbles.
Webbles. Yeah. Weird.
It was weird. Wait, no, that starts with the W.
Yeah.
Oh wait, weird.
Weird.
Oh my god. That dude's hilarious. Pontius Pilate was like objectively funny in this fucking movie.
Yeah, it was. And then he escapes and Brian gets onto a spaceship. And then we go to space.
Oh.
Oh?
I mean, this is not important, but I thought it was funny. Pontius Pilate's wife's name is Incontinus Buttocks. What the fuck? Oh my god. Yeah, then the spaceship happens. This scene was so wild, man.
Man, it was almost too random.
It was crazy, dude.
Yeah, this one.
Oh my god.
This one came out of nowhere. I mean, a lot of this movie comes out of the blue, but I feel like this one really like
They're in their bag with this one, dude.
I I looked down for a second to like write a note, and I looked back up, and he's in a spaceship, and I was like, "Did I press a button? Like, am I watching a different movie? How did this happen?"
Oh my god!
I had to like rewind to see how he even got into that spaceship itself.
He's like falling from his death and just lands in a spaceship. And then the design of those aliens, though.
I know. Also, what was going on with those aliens? Are they like at war with like another alien?
Oh, that's right. I forgot they end up in like a space battle.
Yeah. There's like a whole like Star Wars battle that happens, and then the aliens crash back on Earth, and Brian like just survives and
walks
runs
it
away.
off.
Yeah. I mean, I guess Earth was crazy back then.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
It was ghetto.
It was ghetto, dude. It was fucking hood.
And the fucking block was hot.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
Also, and then after this, he runs into all those like prophets that are just prophesizing shit, but in like different ways.
Yeah, there's like like 5 different prophets.
Like the one was like, there's gonna be a man, and he's gonna be looking for a thing, and he's not gonna be able to find the thing that he was looking for, and the thing that he thought that he was there is not gonna be there.
It's like, what?
Just
prophecy.
Prophetic.
Prophecy.
Oh man. I love a good bit too when they're looking for him, when he like escapes back into the hideout, and like it's just like a million guards going into this one super tiny room, and they can't find anybody, and they're like hiding, like their heads just covered by like a lampshade, and the dude's just like under the table.
There was a guy that just has a piece of cloth, and he's just holding it in front of himself. It's genius, dude. Genius.
Oh my god.
Blends in.
That's a good bit, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good bit. And this is where he falls, right? And he becomes a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I forget what he says that like gets them to follow him.
I'm gonna need to look it up now.
I know he's trying to be serious, like to blend in. So he's like actually saying some prophetic shit.
That's right.
He's repeating fragments of Jesus's sermon, but then he stops mid-sentence when the Roman soldiers actually leave, and that audience that's watching him, they're like, "What? This guy's actually dropping some fire." But then he doesn't really know what Jesus finished with because he left.
That's right. That's pretty funny. How does he end up with that gourd? Oh, that guy makes some like haggle for it.
Haggle for a beard and a gourd.
That's right. He's like, I'm just gonna give him 20. And he's like, no, you gotta haggle for it. This isn't worth 20. And he's like, okay, I'll give you 10. And he's like, that's more like it. That's right. That whole haggle scene. And I love how all his followers just think the gourd has the answer. They're just
they're all like split. They split into like 3 different groups. It's the gourd people, the sandal people, and then the last guy who just like wants to pray and just like pray on whatever words that Brian was saying.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, and then he kills that poor silent dude.
He does. The guy who's had taken an 18-year vow of silence.
Brian steps on his foot. What'd you guys think of the whole Messiah section?
I thought it was really funny because it just like within like Christianity, there's like different like variations. And so within just him being a Messiah, there's 2 different people think they need to do 2 different things based on like what Brian's doing. Like Brian's just trying to run away from the group, and he loses a sandal. And so part of the group's like, we need to take off our sandals. And so he starts grabbing sandals. And then the other part has the gourd, and they're like, no, we need to follow the gourd. And it's so fucking funny. Because Brian doesn't really want to be there. He's just trying to get out.
Yeah, he was just trying to escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny commentary on religion, huh?
Mhm.
This is a smart way of depicting how groups of people can misinterpret something that doesn't mean anything, and thus a whole movement is born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty smart. Even later on, when like he's like, I'm not the Messiah, and they're like, oh, of course the Messiah wouldn't claim to be godly, only a false Messiah would do that. It's like, fine, I am this Messiah. It's like, we knew it. He's the chosen one. He is the Messiah. And he's like, God fucking damn it. You just can't win.
It almost reminded me of Dune 2. When anytime Paul would do anything, what's his name would be like Muad'Dib, and just start like cheering, even though like Paul didn't want to be Muad'Dib. He was just he had to become the Muad'Dib.
That's right. That is pretty related.
Yeah.
And then they just kill that guy immediately. He's like non-believer, and they just murder the silent dude.
Also, like when they ask him for a miracle, they're like, Brian, give us a miracle. We need food. And then Brian's like, check that juniper bush. They're like, miracle.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So random. And it's so like what's it called? Like fast. Like everything that's happening. I mean, how deep in the movie now are we? We're like an hour in basically, and like so much has already happened, and all of this happens just so quickly. Like he becomes the Messiah, he loses his shoe, he gives the people the gourd, he ruins that guy vow of silence, he does a miracle.
It's all in like a couple days too.
Yeah. Like it happens so quick.
He gets laid
immediately after this.
Like Judith immediately is like, I believe in you, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Good for Brian.
Good for Brian.
He has mad followers too.
The next morning when he wakes up.
Yeah, and he flashes his dick to everybody.
I don't know why I wasn't expecting.
I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't expecting that at all. But it's British humor, so
yeah.
The Brits are way more casual with like nudity and bodies than they are with like violence compared to America.
That's true.
We prefer blood and guts
over nudity. Yeah, we're a bunch of like sexual prudes.
Yeah.
I love the mom character though, dude. I mean, every time she shows up on scene, she's just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
What did she say? She's like, no Messiah's here. Does he ever get the crowd to leave, or they just camp out there the whole time?
I think they just camp out.
Yeah, doesn't the mom also like starts warming up to the idea of him being a Messiah, because they're like, oh, the mother of the Messiah, and they start like praising her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I could get used to this.
Everyone takes advantage of him, because the next scene we see the PFJs in there, and like all the followers are just in his pad now.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, fuck, I guess this is my life. And they make like Brian's like in charge of the revolution. Oh man, we didn't talk about my favorite guy. We skipped over him when he gets locked up, but that dude who's like been in prison for like 6 years.
Oh, and he's starting to get Stockholm syndrome. He's like, I love the Romans.
The crucifixion, best thing they ever gave to us. He's like saying that he's like the guard's favorite. Yeah, he's like jealous. He's like, they barely put me this side up today. I was upside down for 5 years. He's like, aren't you the favorite getting spit on?
Yeah, that guy was hilarious.
What's gonna happen to me? He's like, crucifixion, first offense. Lucky. I was like, that dude is on a sick one. Because he pops up again later on when he's getting crucified. He's all jealous.
Mm-hmm.
The whole crucifixion scene was funny too, man. He's like, how many crucifixions? 140. It's a holiday, sir. Passover.
I like how this movie like depicts the realities of crucifixion pretty early on in the film, when they show those like the bones.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The meat is like morbid imagery for a comedy movie.
Mm-hmm.
A crucifixion is a horrible way to die.
Yeah, dude.
It's super fucked up. Most people would get like eaten to death by like crows and shit before they like fully died.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked. So I like how the one guy's like, he's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Freedom, sir." He's like, "Oh, really? Oh, freedom, good for you. All right, cool, get out." He's like, "Nah, I'm just fucking with the crucifixion." Yeah, I know. To the left. That guy was in the beginning too, right? He was the one that the big nose dude.
Yeah.
He's the one that started that whole brawl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then this is where we see the homie biggest dickus. And I like how I caught this. Did you guys notice how the PFJ when they see biggest dickus they look at him funny because he looks exactly like Brian.
Yeah. There's
So
like
Brian's
it's like a quick moment that they're just like,
like wait a minute,
this guy.
biggest dickus is Brian's dad.
Oh,
And that's where we get the whole list bit. I love the list bit when they're like, who should I let go? They're like, let go of Roger.
Luis Waja.
Well, Lee's Waja. We don't have a Roger, sir. Let's just name a bunch of R names.
Yeah.
All right, get release Robert. And then what was biggest Dickus's list? What couldn't he pronounce?
I think the same. I think he also couldn't.
He struggled with R's.
Yeah.
This whole like crucifixion scene was like wild, man. Like so much happens within like 10 minutes
Mhm.
of the movie. Like he could have like Judith is trying to get like everybody to save him, but then the PFJ are like, "Thank you for your fucking service and your martyrdom." Like they show up, they're like, "Oh, we're not here to save you. We're here to like read you your last rites."
Also, Brett, like before all of that, when they're having a meeting, they have to. What do? They have to they've come to the understanding that they have to discuss what they're gonna do to continue the discussions of what is going on or something like that.
That's right. They're
Like
all bureaucratic.
Yeah, they're hella bureaucratic and they're not really doing anything else other than just
Talking.
being a fucking bureaucracy. And it's hilarious because in the end they don't do anything. They're just kind of like, thank you for your service. That's it.
Yep, pretty much. I like how the jailers like they put on that they're deaf and have a stutter.
Yeah. The one guy that like he's deaf and mute. When he's just like
No, he's deaf and slow.
deaf and slow, and he's like, they ask him a question and he says something like that doesn't even make any sense.
He's like, we got plenty in the back.
And the rolling guard just looks at him like,
What?
what is up with this guy? And then the guard leaves, and then they have like a normal conversation.
Yeah. He's like, anyway, so this story, what were you saying?
Yeah.
That shit was funny. I love a good bit. I love a good bit like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen so many of these bits. I'm like, oh, I've seen these in other movies. So you could see like kind of the influence on other comedies.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. And then the guy who's always joking manages to get himself out too. They're like, where's Brian? He's like, oh, I'm Brian.
Mhm.
All right, Brian, you're free. He's like, nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not Brian. He's like, wait, guys, I'm serious. I'm not Brian. Like, what are you doing? And he's just like, no, Brian, I guess I'm free now.
It's like the end of Spartacus when everyone's like, I'm Spartacus,
Yeah.
but I'm Brian.
And then even Judith shows up and she's like, oh, Reg told me that you're gonna be a martyr for the movement. She's like, thank you for your sacrifice. I knew I believed in you. His mom fucking's like, I can't believe you decided to die. And he's like, what the fuck? Like nobody saves him, dude. Even the fucking was it the Judea's People's Front?
Mhm. The
They
suicide.
show up and they're a bunch of little Hitlers.
Yeah.
Apparently, those guys are supposed to be like a bigger part of the film, but they got cut. But they kept them at the end because there was too many shots with them just obviously dead on the ground because they just commit suicide. That they're like, well, fuck, we can't cut them from the film completely.
Yeah.
But I like when they show up and everyone's like, oh shit. And they're all like afraid of him.
Yeah.
He's like, we're the crack suicide squad. Just fucking all stabbed themselves in the chest. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, dude, that is fucking. If it wasn't for like the spaceship part already happening and like putting my expectations for randomness like up to 11, I was like, that was mad fucking random. Like, what the fuck was that all about?
For real.
Like, why are these dudes little Hitlers? Why the fuck did they just come and kill themselves? They had like swastikas on their fucking chest and shit. I was like, what the fuck?
I know.
I thought it was funny. I'm like, okay, it makes sense why everybody hates them, but holy shit, was that random.
Yeah.
And then Brian dies, and that's the end of the movie.
So they sing
Just
that
gets
song.
crucified.
Oh, that's that. Yeah, that song at the end.
Always look.
Oh, that's right. The bright side.
Mhm.
That was another random way to end the movie. Looking on the bright side.
I mean, that's what you got to do if you're being crucified.
I guess.
Yeah.
I was not expecting Brian to die at the end like that.
I wasn't either. I
No.
thought he was going to get saved by somebody.
The fact that so many people could have saved him and they didn't.
Yeah. Definitely a dark comedy.
Yeah. It was good though.
Mhm.
It was random as fuck.
Yeah, the more I hear you guys talk about it, the more my grade is changing. The more I'm starting to realize that I actually did enjoy this movie more than I thought.
It's funny, man. Like so much shit happens. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a couple times where I was audibly like, what the fuck is going on right now? Oh man, this movie made bank too. It only cost $4 million to make, and it made 20 million. And crazy, they weren't. It was almost not going to get made. And George Harrison of the Beatles and his homie Dennis O'Brien, I guess, created their own film company, Handmade Films, and they funded the movie
Oh, nice.
because they read the script and shit, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this needs to be made."
Huh. That's cool.
That's pretty cool. And I
Shout
guess
out.
because this movie's so like critiques religion, it was banned in Ireland, Norway, and in Italy for like 10 years.
Damn.
Ireland and in Norway wasn't that long. I think it was like maybe a year, but Italy banned it for 10.
Dang.
That's crazy.
I mean, that makes sense. It's like making fun of religion.
Their whole
Yeah.
belief system.
Yeah,
So it's hilarious though. I mean, like, come on.
it is.
It is. You gotta be able to take a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't have to be so serious.
That's so serious. Oh my god. I'm surprised my boy Ebert only gave it 3 out of 4 stars. I thought this was gonna be a 4 out of 4.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 is still solid,
Yeah.
That's solid.
especially
feel
for
like-
Ebert.
He likes the classics.
Yeah.
This is considered a classic. It's on a lot of lists for like in contention for one of the greatest comedies of all time.
Damn.
I mean, it's pretty funny. I don't know
It
if I
is.
put it on my greatest comedies of all time list, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more comedies that I feel personally that are a lot more funny than this movie.
I think from the era, I'd put it up there. I mean, like, I think this is Spinal Tap is funnier than this movie.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
But like, I feel like a lot of movies, especially the way comedy changes depending on like the reception of your audience and the time that it was made.
Mhm.
Like some comedy movies really don't age well. And I feel like
Yeah.
this movie, because of the type of comedy it is and the subject matter that they're making fun of, actually ages pretty well. I think the jokes are still pretty funny.
Yeah.
And it's not like a sexist in any way type of comedy movie. And whatever sexism there is like they mentioned multiple times, like Judith is like the only woman in their movement, and they're like, well, there are more women in here, and like how Loretta is like taking up the feminine cause.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like it's still kind of poignant, which I think is kind of cool. That's really hard to do.
Yeah, especially for a movie that's as old as it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they chose a subject that is so consistent and like integral to a lot of like societies that it's just kind of easy to pick up at any point in time during any point of actual time, because it's always like these it's the same story, right? It's like the story of Jesus, so I feel like
Yeah, pretty much.
it's it's a good like flashback in a way, but a lot of the stuff like you mentioned, it's still kind of consistent.
Now, one thing that just kind of hit me too, that I remember you said it was a good black comedy. Like Brian is trying so hard to like get out of being the Messiah because he just knows this is not going to end well,
Mhm.
and like it does not end well.
It really doesn't.
Because like even though he gets all these followers and everything, they all just let him die at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like all for naught.
True.
Oh man. Well, we kind of burned through this one pretty fast.
It was a quick movie.
Yeah.
It was a quick movie.
Only an hour and a half. I definitely feel like it flew by. There was a couple of times though when I had to like rewind because the comedy was happening so fast that I was like, fuck, I missed it. I gotta go
Yeah,
back.
it's so dialogue heavy.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
like rewatch. Or like when the alien thing happened, I'm like, fuck, how did he get here? Like you'll turn a corner and it'll be like a whole other like skit basically that's happening within this. Even though it wasn't really skit, but still skit. I did
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but the set design was really cool too. I feel like it was they did like a really good job setting up everything to make sure that we really felt like kind of more immersed. And
Oh
they
yeah, for sure.
are moving through a lot of the sets that we see. Like the set is set up and then they move through that like really consistently, like the marketplace, the hideout of the of the People's Front, the palace, like all those places are shown kind of in the beginning of the movie, and they just kind of constantly move through them. So that was really cool.
It's crazy that you mentioned that. Oh, I forget. I didn't write it down. I think it's Terry Gilliam. I think it's Terry Gilliam, or is it Michael Palin? One of them is like a real stickler for like these historical details, and had like I might have been Gilliam, had like a really like big emphasis on that for Holy Grail to make sure that everything looked like the time period.
Yeah.
So like he did the same thing and put in like a lot of effort, especially in like Pontius Pilate's like throne room to
Mhm.
make sure that it looked like you were like in an actual like Roman throne room, which had with like all the columns and all the like architecture and shit.
Yeah.
And they filmed it in Tunisia, and Tunisia, and the area of Tunisia is like very much still had that like old style kind of, I don't know, Roman Christian like architecture to it, which I thought was cool. And I guess they specifically picked that area because it was also a filming location for another religious film. I don't know if it was Jesus of Nazareth or a different one. I forget. I didn't write it down. But like that's why it has like the parallels, and they're able to film in both locations.
Mm.
And they got some of
Okay.
the shots were using like local Tunisian extras, so it wasn't just like a bunch of white guys.
Cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool too. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, especially because it is like a historical film, right? But it's
Yeah.
like a comedy historical film, but they put in all this extra effort to make sure that they got the like history part kind of right, or at least the illusion of it, which I think is, I mean, that's interesting. It's going the extra mile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
I also think that even though this movie is about religion, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't really feel like they're necessarily making fun of like Christianity and like Jesus. It's kind of more about this dude who like accidentally becomes this prophet, and then he's trying to get out of this like whole thing. Like he's just in like a funny situation. And it's not, to me, I didn't really take it as like a
criticism.
criticism or like an attack. It was just like, look at what happens when this dude accidentally stumbles into this like kind of hilarious situation. But I know I did read that there was like a lot of pushback because it's like a movie about religion, and like, churches and all these different people like kind of hated it. But yeah, I didn't get any of the like a real like negative or like any, it didn't really feel like it had malice. It was just like it was just comedy all the way through.
Yeah. I agree with you. It was just a story that was happening during a time with the backdrop being Jesus kind of going through, and he like makes a couple appearances, but it's not like the main focal point of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Monty Python troupe even said when they got that pushback, they're like, watch the movie. We're not criticizing Christianity in any way. We're just like kind of like poking fun of like, what if like some dude became like targeted as a prophet when he really didn't want to be, and like all the hilarious situations that would result from that.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I don't think they really make fun of religion,
No.
which
No.
is cool because like that would have been the easy route, I feel like, of making the movie.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. They like completely just made like this crazy ass scenario.
Yeah. I guess though, like as I'm thinking about it, I feel like the only time that I really feel like they're making fun of it is when Brian loses his shoe and he gives the woman the gourd, and they start arguing within themselves of like, what those two symbols mean in terms of like what Brian is trying to pitch. But that's just because I personally, like, when I think of religion, like that's just how I think of things. Like people interpret stuff in like really funny and different ways. But even then, like it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they don't go like super in depth harder than that. I feel like that's the only time that we really get reference of like the group breaking off into two segments. After that, I think everyone's just one whole cohesive like Brian unit.
Yeah. I think the only time that I felt it was really poking fun at religion was maybe in the very beginning when with the three wise men and how they got Jesus mixed up with this fucking Brian kid.
Yeah.
Like how wise are they actually if like they made that big of a mistake?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, I think they were. I think they definitely critiqued like some of the broader concepts of religion, like the like cult of personality aspect of it, but not necessarily attacked like Christianity or Judaism like directly.
Yeah.
It was just more like, look how crazy can people be? You can find meaning in like someone dropping a shoe or like a fucking fruit when it could just be that's what it is. He dropped a fruit, a shoe, and like he gave you a fruit. Yeah, it was really smart. It was a very good film.
Yeah.
One more thing, I read about the naming of the groups. And so the comical naming similarities of the groups were also a satire of factious divisions between contemporary Palestinian liberation groups, all containing the words front and liberation along with Palestine. So the first one was our Palestinian Popular Struggle Front, which formed in 1967. They broke off from the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which had divisions that led to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine General Command, which in turn split into the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine and the Popular Revolutionary Front for the Liberation of Palestine. So it's like something that like kind of consistently happens within
That's so funny.
within like history, and I just think that they took that and they kind of like brought it into their own stuff, which was also kind of funny too. Not funny for Palestine, but funny just that like they keep that kind of like you can find like the humor and like all these like small different things that are happening.
Yeah, and I'm sure like this instance in Palestine isn't the only time in history where like some group split off to become an even like just like the same group, similar name.
Reversed.
Yeah, it's reversed.
Yeah.
Instead of Judea being at the end, it's in the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good bit. I love that bit when they just naming all the other sects that they don't fuck with. I was like, that's funny. Oh man, so many good bits. I feel like I probably won't watch this movie anytime soon, but I'll definitely gonna give it a rewatch and see if I catch any other things. I feel like this would be a good faded movie. I saw this movie sober.
Oh, it would definitely be a good faded movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would like to give Holy Grail another watch because I've only watched that movie, Faded.
That's true, huh? All right. Let's do our reviews. So I'm gonna start off. We get into our reviews. I'll start off first. I feel like I might have the highest grade. So I gave this movie an A.
Ooh.
I actually liked this movie and thought it was funnier than Shaun of the Dead, which I gave an A minus last week. And I even said that I like This Is Spinal Tap. I think This Is Spinal Tap is funnier than this movie, but I don't think it's better than this movie. I think as an overall movie, this movie is very well put together. The jokes are pretty funny. As we were talking about earlier, like I feel like the movie's still relevant today. The way that they like take the setting of like Jesus times and like formulate like a pretty hilarious story around it using historical figures with these great set designs and like kind of immerse you into this area while also like poking fun and just being just like a ridiculous ride. There's moments in this movie that made me like laugh out loud, moments in this movie that made me think a little bit, and then moments in this movie that made me go like, what the fuck am I watching? Like this is fucking wild. It's a great movie. I think it had really good acting, really good comedy, both visually and written comedy. I think some of the body comedy was also pretty good in this film. I just love the way that it attacks like bureaucracy, the like ridiculousness of like these independence movements, and then just like people in general. I think it's a must watch if you like comedy films or you want to see a movie that has some pretty smart ideas in like a really digestible way. I feel like Life of Brian is a great movie to do that. I would recommend this to anybody, all ages. It's hilarious. It's not too racy. I mean, there is some nudity in it. Just be in mind you're gonna see some straight up wiener. But other than that, like that's kind of like the only like R-rated portion of the movie.
You said
Uh,
wiener.
Hilarious. Highly recommend. Give it a Twan, take it away.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, I feel like talking about it with you guys has definitely increased the grade for me. I'm gonna give this movie a B plus.
What'd you originally have it at?
F.
Like a C plus.
Oh, damn, it went up
B minus.
a whole
Okay.
grade.
Yeah.
Sometimes
We just had to talk through and process,
Got to process.
Yeah. So, this movie had a lot of good things going for it. Small things like the set, the humor, the writing, the fact that 6 dudes played like 40 characters is kind of impressive. The one negative that for me personally was the character of the mom. I found her to she wasn't very likable, or he wasn't very likable as a character. But aside from that, like, yeah, this movie has a lot going for it. And I feel like this is one of those movies that can't be remade. It just, you have to take it for what it is, and nobody should ever touch it. It's good the way it is, and for the time that it was made, a lot of the jokes are still relevant, which is crazy to say, especially for a movie that came out in the 70s. Like, the whole commentary on the transgender part was just so like palpable, especially in this day and age. So yeah, great movie. I would recommend this to, like you said, anybody that's a fan of comedy. Definitely check this movie out. It's a quick watch, just an hour and 30 minutes. So like, you don't have too big of a commitment, especially now with comedies being as long as they are these days. This is a good palate cleanse, I guess. So yeah, B plus for me.
Nice. Hell yeah. I wonder, I thought about this and I remember they were like British because the mom kind of reminded me of, you see in other comedy movies when they show that like prototypical like Italian like New York mom. That's what like his mom reminded me of, but like the British version of that.
Yeah.
So our British listeners, 5% out there, comment, let us know. Do you know somebody and where you grow up whose mom's like that, or was your mom like that? I don't know. Shout out in the comments. All right, say it. Finish this off.
A minus. It's hard to add anything to what you guys said because you touched on everything. The comedy's on point. The set design was really cool. A handful of guys played 40 actors, which is
That's so wild.
so nuts. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got some slight action. It's got some comedy. You go to space. There's a bunch of stuff going on. We see wieners. There's a whole. Oh, you also see some bush. I've seen some bush too. That's also really fun.
Love some bush.
Yeah, no, but it's. I think that this is definitely like a really hard recommend for me. It's like one of those classic movies that I think anybody can watch and anybody can really get into. I think I would say that I do like this more than I'm blanking
Monty
on
Python,
Holy Grail,
the other one.
Shaun of the Dead.
Turn it up to 11.
Oh, this is Spinal Tap.
I would say that I like this one more than Spinal Tap, but I don't like it more than Shaun of the Dead. But I like Shaun of the Dead for other reasons other than just being a comedy. It's a zombie comedy, so that's like another layer onto it. But still a really solid movie. Definitely recommend it. Check it out. Check it out sober. Check it out not sober. Check it out when you're sad. Check it out when you're happy. Check it out when it's raining or when it's sunny. Just overall, just a really, really great time. I'm glad that we got the opportunity to check out this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. This is definitely The wheel has been kind to us these past couple weeks. This is a great. It was fucking funny, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
All right, shall we move on to the wheel? Speaking of our Lord and Savior.
Yep. Any
Yeah.
additions?
Yes, I have an addition. Twan, you wanted to add Holy Mountain, right?
Holy Mountain. Yeah.
We're doing I'm adding Stay Tuned. All right. So shuffle. All right. So we had two new additions. We had Holy Mountain and Stay Tuned.
So
All right.
what are we thinking?
Come on. You know what I've been asking
There wants Pulse.
like, for
There
the
wants
last
Pulse.
like 3 months. I want it so bad. I need to go back to horror. I mean, I love comedy. I love watching funny stuff with you guys. I love watching like dramatic stuff with you guys. I like watching animated stuff with you guys, but I fucking love horror so much.
I wonder if we've added enough stuff to it now that it's like a little bit more balanced. Because before it
I
was like
think so.
it was like
pure
horror.
70-30 like
Horror
horror.
heavy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring me back to my roots, baby.
Let's see.
Well,
I want a foreign film.
So you know what's a
Roar?
foreign film?
Pulse.
Pulse. It's
Hey,
from
we can
Japan.
get two birds. I've been on fire with my callbacks, my
Oh,
calls lately.
I love Two Birds.
Let's see. Oh man.
Yep.
All right, we've had 2 really good weeks. Are we gonna get something
The two-
shitty?
The Two Birds get the stone.
Ooh. What are we
Bird in the
gonna get?
hash. Bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush.
Conan the Barbarian.
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
Oh, I think we're gonna get it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You heard of the Food Blood and Honey too?
Not like
Oh,
this.
Inland
Inland
Empire.
Oh,
Oh, the Pooh Blood and Honey 2.
That's cool.
Nice.
That's cool.
The Poohing.
The Poohing. That's gonna be the new. That's the subtitle for this episode.
All right.
The
Winnie
The Poohing.
the Pooh.
I want to
Blood
not like this.
and Honey.
I'm sorry I brought this upon us.
This one, yeah, well, yeah. Never
All
mind.
right.
Yeah, don't tell me. I'll figure it out.
All right, guys. So next week we will be doing our first sequel of the pod.
Equal time.
So we will be covering Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2.
The Pooh.
Dude.
I've heard this movie is better than the first one. I did not like the first one. I think I gave the movie like a B minus. So I'm looking forward to watching this one. I mean, I heard it's the first one, but with more budget and like just better. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
It was like Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. That's
Okay.
the best way I could describe it.
Okay.
I really liked Evil Dead though. I arguably like
no.
Evil Dead more than Evil Dead 2.
Well, oh, okay. Well, in that sense, I guess
Oh,
maybe
fuck.
not.
Evil Dead's more scary. Evil Dead 2 is more silly.
It is, but it's like the same kind of premise, you know? Like
Okay, yeah.
just got more money introduced. Yeah,
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Tay got his wish. You're doing a horror.
yeah.
So
Not like this.
I feel like the last time this happened, you were begging for something from the wheel, and then we need the Pooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
man.
gonna keep on bagging for that movie. We'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
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 We'll see how it goes. All right, guys. So thank you for joining us this week as we covered the 1979 Monty Python's Life of Brian. It is a comedy classic. I can see why. Got high scores from all of us. I gave it an A. Say gave it an A minus, and Twan gave it a B plus. Comes as a highly recommend from the 3 of us. It's been a great back-to-back weeks for British comedies here on the pod.
Yeah.
Well, we're taking it back to the cult B movie status with next week's entry. We're gonna do Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. So make sure you tune in and join us. If you haven't done so already, you can give us a follow on our socials. We're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X/Twitter, Facebook, and Threads. If you guys want to donate to the pod, you can do so by clicking the donation link at the end of each episode. But if not, it's totally cool. We love having the pod. We love joining you guys each week.
We're also
As
now
always.
on Twitch.
On Twitch now.
Oh, yeah, we're now on Twitch. That's right, first Twitch stream.
You can watch
Hello.
us.
You can watch us.
That's right. You can watch us live.
Watch our heads.
Come
Watch our
stare at
bodies.
You can see all the unedited like racial slurs we drop. As always, I've been your host, the Dale, followed by my two co-hosts, Mr. Saya,
biggest.
and Twan.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Catch you next week.